All right, so this will be the last of the videos that I have for you in this week too. As I've said, there will not always in each week be this many little video clips. There's one or two extra this week because of the length of the presentation over the arguments that I have you read, and also because there's a whole bunch of stuff that we did in the first week that is unique to the first week, explaining assignments, the Icebreaker discussion forum, and so forth. So it's that last thing, the Icebreaker discussion forum, that I want to address in this short little video. So, I think almost everyone submitted something and told us a little bit about themselves. What I mainly want to address here is the general idea I got of what people think philosophy is and what its place is, and then I want to tell you about my own opinion there. So most people seem to think that philosophy is about deeper thinking. Some people thought it was deeper thinking only on particular topics. Some people thought it was deeper thinking in general. Some people thought it was deep thinking about your own opinions only. And to a certain extent, all of those are right. Now, the one thing that I definitely want to sort of push people away from is thinking that philosophy is only considering your own view, your own opinion. So a lot of people in their reasons for taking philosophy kind of did go away from this idea. They said that, oh, I am taking this course because I'm interested in other people's viewpoints. So not only are we interested in other people's viewpoints, not merely our own, and we're interested in them not just as a curiosity, sort of comparing, oh, this is what you think, oh, this is what I think, oh, that's very neat how different it is. We do want to critically engage with our own viewpoint and other people's viewpoints, right? So the arguments that we're looking at in the textbook are simply other people's viewpoints, right? Professional philosophers' viewpoints on something. We don't want to just sort of look at them, memorize them, and say, oh, so-and-so thinks this. We want to understand their argument and kind of say, well, is this a sort of, I don't want to say valid viewpoint, is this a well-founded viewpoint? Do they give good reasons for it? And that's what you should do when thinking about your own viewpoints and when thinking about the viewpoints of your sort of classmates, random people that you meet out in the world. Because to some extent, philosophy is done by everyone. We all, at least about certain topics, think, as you say, deeper. We sit there and we consider our views on it. We consider the concepts and words that we use to express that view, and we try and be a little bit systematic. So if I had to give you a working definition of philosophy which informs the way I teach my courses, it is as follows. Philosophy is sustained and systematic thought about topics of enduring importance to humanity. So a couple of things to note there, the word systematic and the word sustained. So this captures that idea that a lot of people have that philosophy is deep thinking, right? We're not superficially considering any of these topics, our own opinion, other people's opinions. We're digging in. And that is part of what can make philosophy a little bit uncomfortable and confrontational sometimes, because when you dig into other people's views on things, when you dig into your own view on things, you can sort of hit a nerve, right? You can find things that are bound up with your view of yourself, with your view of how things should be. And when those things get challenged, it can be, a little bit, as I say, uncomfortable. That kind of discomfort is good, right? And any philosophy course worth taking, worth teaching, is a philosophy course in which that kind of discomfort does occur. And invariably, some of us will experience that when we talk about especially some of the ethical topics later on. Some of you may have already experienced it in this. The very notion of the idea of the death of God may have sort of rubbed you the wrong way. But hopefully, and it looks like most of you did, you um, got past that and actually dug into the arguments. And so that's what we're looking for. So that's the sustained part. The systematic part is perhaps what makes philosophy different from some other way of viewing a topic, right? So you might think of well, I don't want to say it makes it different. Science is systematic in that it's this very rigorous way of comparing and collating observations. Philosophy is systematic in that it's very much rooted on logic, right? We are concerned with making arguments which are logical either in a formal sense or an informal sense. Arguments which obey certain types of rules. And by obeying those types of rules, we can say that an argument is well-founded. Okay? And I've described some of those rules already. These have so far been formal logical rules in the form of modus ponens and modus tollens. I've discussed those in the first and second week's recorded lecture. So it's things like that that systematic refers to in my definition. So sustained and systematic investigation of topics of enduring importance to humanity. So two more things to talk about. There's this idea of enduring importance. That is, things which are of interest to a wide range of people. So they're not interesting only to this one person over here, this one group of people in this one place at this one time. They keep being interesting throughout human history. Ethics is obviously one of those things. We want to know how we should behave. We want to know what counts as a good life, what counts as happiness. That's the sort of thing that people have been thinking about forever, right? For as long as they've been able to think. So that's a very good example of enduring importance. Largely, these different philosophical subdisciplines capture what we have taken to be enduring topics of enduring importance. So if you consider the titles of classes in the philosophy department, things like epistemology, ethical theories, ancient philosophy, symbolic logic, science in the modern world, philosophy of science, right? So this tells you what we're interested in. We're interested in epistemology. That's sort of how do we know things? How do we gain knowledge? When do we know that we have knowledge? Ethical theory, again, that's ethics. Philosophy of science is sort of investigating, well, what is scientific knowledge? When do we have it? How do we get it? You might find, I don't know if we have this here, but at other universities, courses on aesthetics, that is, what is beauty? Where do we find it? How do we make it, perhaps? All sorts of things like that. So these are the topics that are of enduring importance, and they're of enduring importance to humanity. So to a certain extent, philosophy is human-centric. Now, non-human things may be of interest to us, but they're sort of interest to us through our own perspective and experience. So in ethics, we may talk about animal rights. The rights of animals are interesting to us, of interest to us, but often the discussion is, well, do animals have rights with respect to sort of the human interaction with them? There are philosophical views which try and shift it away from being focused only on human concerns. They say, well, don't animals have their own concerns independent of the existence of humans? That can be a little bit hard to work out systematically, what that means, how that would look. So we're restricting it generally to human perspective in the very generic sense of humankind, not of any particular person, particular group of people, particular time. So to reiterate my sort of working definition, it is philosophy is the sustained and systematic study of topics of enduring importance to humanity. And that captures a lot of what I saw people saying in the comments. again, the only thing that I saw in your submissions to the icebreaker discussion that I want to sort of steer away from is it's not just people putting forward their opinion. Philosophy is not just what you happen to believe. It's not sort of this big Lebowski thing. Well, that's just like your opinion, man. Um, we will say that certain views are good and bad, right and wrong, and when we say that, we mean that they are rooted in good arguments or they aren't. And being rooted in good arguments is, we take it, a sign of being true or being close to the truth, something like that. So we're not just studying people's opinions and writing them down to notice that everyone thinks particular things. We again want to critically engage with them. Now, as a lot of people suggested, this critical engagement tells us what the place of philosophers in philosophy is. It is to sort of make sure that we're not getting complacent in our thinking, that we don't accept things just because, well, that's the way it's always gone, or because it's comfortable to us to think that way. We have to provide some sort of rigorous standard, and again, this rigorous standard doesn't have to be formal logic. Lots of philosophers think that sort of the scientific method supplants in some way any logical method, and so when we talk about something being well-founded, we mean, oh, is it empirically well-founded? Does it conform to our best theories in the sciences? At least about some things, philosophers will differ, but not always, and not about all things. So hopefully, everyone kind of has a good idea of what our working definition of philosophy will be for the course, of what kind of place this type of thinking has in the world, and of what use it is to your own life or to sort of human society in general.